Hi everyone, welcome to Help Nobody Told Me. I'm your host Shannon Johnson with my co-host Jasmine Shapiro, and we are with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
And we're so excited to have Chelsea Duggan with us. You are with TheRitualFit. You're a personal trainer, and I know you because you train my daughter, who's 33, but you've also worked with my mother, who is 88 and has a lot of challenges, and you're so good with seniors, and you're so compassionate, and that's why we wanted you on our show.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. And I've been working with seniors for a long time. My grandmother moved in with my family at the age of 10. And so I was very hands-on in terms of helping my mom, who worked full-time, to kind of help care for my grandmother in that interim hours of after school before my mom got home. And also just being a partner and having that relationship so close with my grandmother at that age, you really see some of the struggles that seniors have. I love fitness. I love moving, and I love how the body moves, and that's really what I try to help seniors with, is support that movement, because you really want to use your body in a way that you can do the kinds of things that you want to do. If you want to climb Mount Everest, we train to climb Mount Everest, but if you just want to get up the stairs at home, that's also something we train for. I also work a lot with health, and health is really how we feel in our body, and as we get older, we all get those aches and pains that are sort of, we wake up one morning, we slept funny, it's a little different, and how can we kind of get those kinks out? Also pertaining to our range of motion and how we're moving and reaching and even just getting up off the floor. Things that when we were little were so easy and become challenges as we get older. And also health is supporting the nutrition and supporting the sleep, which research really says if you're not sleeping well, it makes aging that much harder. And then also in terms of fitness and health, I work with wellness, and wellness is really how we feel in our soul. So trying to support feeling good and enjoying life, and that's a big challenge in an aging body because we get frustrated that we can't always do the things we used to be able to do, but how can we modify that to still really enjoy our life? Part of my background in terms of personal training, I'm certified in nutrition, but I also got certified in senior fitness, and I'm certified in Parkinson's disease. So I help specifically that population of people. But one of the things I really love about my job is, by nature, I'm a research nerd, and each client is so unique. So anytime a client comes to me with any sort of physical challenge, I dive into the research and I really try to figure out how to best help them live their life how they want to live.
And I know I've met you a couple of times already, and I even had an opportunity to work out with you.
Yes.
And you are so passionate. I mean, it like oozes out of you. Like you could tell you love what you do.
I love it. And I try to keep everything positive. There, as I say to my clients, there are no crises in fitness.
So talk a little bit about Parkinson's. I didn't know that there was certain fitness for Parkinson's.
Yes. Parkinson's is a very, very challenging disease. As of right now, there is no cure, but there are a lot of medications that can help with certain symptoms. One of the biggest challenges is that those medications can help, but eventually your body will shut off and those medications will no longer work. And so that's really the challenge, is do you want to sort of have a lot of medication and have the best quality of life now, or where that longevity piece is, and kind of how you can manage that with your doctor. But the great news is there's always new research coming out and new medications, and people are really working. But one of the challenges of Parkinson's is your body does not signal correctly to your muscles, and so there's a lot of fall risk, which is typical in general of an aging population. So we work a lot on coordination and patterning. You may have heard that boxing is good for Parkinson's. As a USA boxing coach, part of the reason boxing is good is because it's a lot of coordinated left-right movements, and that crosses your brain, left-right movements, similar to why they say piano is so good for kids. It's because you're developing that left-right movement in the brain. And so we work a lot of that kind of patterning to try to help help the client find their steps, because really what we're training for is we expect a fall, but we're training for that counter to the fall. Can they take one more step and catch themselves, and build in some safeguards into the patterning? And then just overall general strength, because Parkinson's is degenerative in the muscle, so you want to try to maintain as much strength as possible.
So my dad had a stroke. I mean, he's been gone for a while, but he was paralyzed on one side, and we were always so protective of him because he used a 4-prong cane. And we would go out to a restaurant, and, people would be like running to get in front of us so they could be ahead of us in line. And I wanted to strangle people, because if you knock him, he'll fall over.
Right.
So,
it's a challenge.
It's
a challenge.
Yes.
And balance comes from a lot of different places. Because in 1, it's your foot and ankle stability. 2, it's also in your core strength. And 3, it's your proprioception in your brain, which simply means how your brain tells where you are in space and time. And we lose a lot of that as we become even adults, because we no longer play in trees, we no longer hang upside down or do somersaults. And some of those types of things really throw the brain off. This is why people love yoga, is because things like down dog puts your head below your hip and helps your brain recenter where it is in space and time, or that proprioception. So any of those kinds of things that you can mix in can then help that balance.
It's so interesting.
Very interesting.
So you're very involved in nutrition too.
Yes, mostly because I love to eat.
Don't we all?
So the nutrition certification kind of comes with it. There's a lot of confusion around nutrition, and the FDA doesn't necessarily help us in terms of some of the food labeling is confusing to read and confusing to see. But what is really coming out in the research right now is how important protein is. And they're saying as we age, we need even more than we did when we were younger. And that's kind of the new buzz, like, oh, wait, even more protein. And the protein is any kind of meat or fish, beans, green peas have a lot. There's a lot of vegetables you can get more protein from, and dairy. And it doesn't necessarily matter where you get it as more as that you're focusing on getting enough. I would argue that 90% of people are not getting the amount of protein that they need. And that protein is essential to maintain muscle mass, and muscle mass helps your bone density. So it just all kind of goes together. So you want to try to increase the protein. You want lots of veggies, and then less of everything else.
All the wonderful sugary things don't have.
Well, and I really say the biggest thing with sugar is try not to drink sugar. If you want to have, a pumpkin spice latte with friends for the season, that's fine. It should not be your daily treat. It's just, your body just doesn't know what to do with it.
Right. Well, any of the processed foods.
Yes.
So now seniors tend to be less hungry, and as you get older, maybe if you're not moving as much, and they don't eat the way they may have eaten when they were younger. And you have something called, or you mentioned something called movement snacks.
Yeah, so movement snacks really relates more to moving your body and the fitness side of things.
Okay.
It is really like a snack just to get moving. It isn't actual nutrition. But what I will say with nutrition, and for seniors who are maybe not feeling hungry or not, just not as engaged in food, is generally I say get on a schedule and set your timer, and you eat when it's 8 o'clock or whatever set time you had, whether you're hungry or not, that you eat at that time so that you don't forget to eat.
Right.
And I honestly, I program that a lot for my clients too with their workouts, and just saying, schedule it into your day of when you're going to do it. If you get busy with work and you can't make it happen, that's one thing. But if you don't have it scheduled, it's very easy to say, I'll do it later, and then it never sort of happens.
That's kind of true for all of us.
Yes,
If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen.
For sure. And so I suggest with seniors that they put their meals on the calendar there too, and that I give them templates they can fill out for a general plan for their week. Like, what are you going to have for your protein this week? What do you want to eat? And the general rule is just eat more of what you love. You don't have to eat a whole bunch of things you don't like, but try to have that set in your day.
So tell us a little bit more about the movement snacks. I'm so curious,
Yes.
because you said this is a thing now.
Yes. So there's been a lot of research coming out that's pretty fascinating in terms of what our body needs for movement. Because one of the things that's aging us the most is that we all sit too much during our day, in our car, in the office, wherever we're
On
at.
our phones, on our devices.
And so we're static too much of the time. So this study came out and they said that if you go to sort of those really hard boot camp style classes or CrossFit style classes, and you do a 1 hour workout in the morning, it's just so hard, and then you go and you sit for 8 hours of your day, it's as if that workout never happened.
Really?
So it's not helping your body to kind of get in and work really hard and then sort of be done. So the current research coming out is saying for every hour that you're seated, you should move for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And get up and move. So the idea of movement snacks is simply cut your meeting to 55 minutes and get up and you do something, a body weight exercise. You could do high knees or jumping jacks or squats. No weight necessarily involved. Because what I do see with some of my clients is they'll say, oh, I had time, so I grabbed the dumbbells and I did, but you're not properly warmed up for that. So it's really more about just body weight exercises and just trying to move. And I suggest to people too, if you're unsure about getting out of the meeting, bring a water bottle you love and drink the whole thing. So by the end of that meeting, you have to get up and move
there you go.
and run to the bathroom before you get back.
So would going for a walk qualify?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything and everything you can do to not be so static during that work day.
Okay.
Interesting.
And just curious to your opinion of the 10,000 steps.
Yeah, so that study is also very interesting because 10,000 was a rounded up number. It's actually 7,000 steps, but they rounded it up to 10,000 because it fits the narrative a little bit better. I will say that our body is meant to move, and I truly believe that walking is healing for our body in lots of different ways. For one, it keeps your circulation going, it keeps your heart going, and especially if you can get outside. The North Shore is so beautiful at this time of year.
Gosh, yes.
And it's just, I mean, walk around, look at the homes in your neighborhood, it's fantastic. And the leaves, and it's just the fresh air, and it mentally brings you back. So there's so many benefits that way. And so you want to keep your body moving. There's also, as we talked a little bit about before with Parkinson's, about that left-right motion. It's the same in walking. When you're swinging your arms, your left leg is forward, right arm is forward, and that is that left-right patterning that we're looking for to help keep your brain healthy as well. And then I will also say I use walking a lot for recovery. I compete in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I get pretty beat up in that, and I use walking a lot to recover. And just at the end of the day, even if I get home late, I might hop on the treadmill and just try to kind of reset my body a little bit. And then in terms of walking versus the runners out there, it's very interesting that if you walk and you run, the calorie burn is actually very similar, because as you get into that groove running, your body really manages itself very well. So you really do get a great calorie burn from walking. You don't necessarily have to have that impact all the time.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but running can be really hard on your body and your joints.
It can be very hard on your body and joints. Really where we would look to running is in terms of bone density. So as we age, we lose our bone density. It's mostly genetic and some lifestyle factors. Once you lose bone density, you can't necessarily get it back. You can try to maintain it. But to help bone density, you need impact. Impact is running, it would be dance, it would be tennis. Walking is not considered enough for the impact for bone density. So it's just something to consider if you're concerned about bone density.
So, but if you did like weight training and then
Yes,
you
will also
supplement
help.
it with
Correct. Yes.
walking, then that kind of
Yes.
satisfies well.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. So we talked about movement snacks. Tell me about a situation where you saw that really improve someone's lifestyle or help
Yes.
to manage.
So one of the things I always tell new clients is the first thing I tell, because everybody's looking at working on balance and how to fix their balance. And so one of the first things I say to people is brush your teeth standing on one foot. And when you get tired, switch feet. And when you get good at it, extend your foot and annoy your partner. And stand in all different kinds of positions so that you gain that balance. And this is really the whole premise of my company being called TheRitualFit, is build in rituals into your life that make your daily routine always kind of helping you as best it can. So other ideas might be saying, like when you're walking the dog, I have my clients do like a box step pattern. Your dog is stopped, it's doing its business, you'll step forward, forward, back, back, and just kind of get your step pattern in till your dog is finished. So you're building that in. I might say, I'm making some toast, I'm going to do some knees to elbows and kind of work my balance that way, or even work that movement snack idea in. So I'm taking all the things you are already doing and trying to kind of fill that space with some movement.
I love that.
And another thing is I have people do is if you're tired the end of the day and you're sitting down, you're watching your Netflix, throw your keys on the floor or a sock or something and just play with it, picking it up with your feet and try to see if you can get it. It doesn't matter what the item is necessarily, but practice so that you build that strength in your feet and toes, because so many of our shoes are designed to kind of narrow our feet and we don't get that same sort of strength that we can really benefit from as we age in terms of fall risk.
Isn't that great? Now, would you say that you would advise this for any age or particularly seniors?
Yeah, so I always look at every client as an individual, so I try to meet them where they already are. Okay. So, if you're already out walking or you have the dog, I'm going to suggest those things. But maybe you're not mobile, you're not out walking as much, then I'm going to take, what you're already doing inside your home. I generally don't like to have people buy fancy equipment. I'll say let's use what you already have. Even things like grip strength, you can use a hand towel to work on your grip strength. And you just hold a towel, practice pulling on it, relax it, practice pulling on it, relax it. So as you're watching Netflix or you're doing something, or a lot of times with seniors, I'll give them a little ball or something, or even a rolled up sock, and you practice. Can you pass it back and forth now? Can you add some distance? Can you pass it behind you? Where's your range of motion? Can you bring it over your head and behind? Because so often those are the things that we lose, is that range of motion. Well, if I can't reach behind my head, I can't wash my hair anymore. And so now it's really problematic.
I can't pull my clothes over my head.
You get stuck in your clothes and things like that. Or even, again, with a movement snack, you're making your coffee, I'll have you do high knees. Get your knee higher than your hip. Why is that? Well, when you climb into your bed, you have to get your knee higher than the mattress. So if you're used to that motion and you've kept that range of motion, it makes it way easier than if you haven't. One of the big things you'll see on the North Shore is a demand for ranch-style houses because people don't want to do the stairs. But what I will tell you is when you stop doing the stairs, you will no longer do them anywhere. So it's actually better if you can to keep the stairs and keep practicing
really
as best
point.
You can. Now, it's not feasible for everyone, of course, but if you can, you want to focus on that and sort of force yourself to do it.
Well, there's a Netflix series called The Blue Zone.
Yes.
I figured you'd seen it.
Yes.
But they talk about this village in Italy.
Yes.
Where it's vertical living.
Yeah.
And everyone lives in these homes with stairs.
Yes.
So all of these seniors are up and down the stairs all the time.
And it's a big difference in Europe to here.
Right. It changes the way that they use their bodies all day long.
Yes.
And it actually creates longevity in their lives because their fitness is better. It's just, they walk more, they're up and down the stairs, they garden, they do all these things.
They don't drive their car to the closest parking spot. They actually walk. They're in towns.
It really is use it or lose it. If you don't have to have that range of motion, your body will lose it. The example I always give is if you look at your parents and they go to sit in the couch and they sort of drop that last 6 inches into the couch and then they kind of have to rock to get up and out of the sofa. That's because they've lost that range of motion and they've lost the strength in that range of motion. So I always make my clients work that range really low so that they're keeping that strength as long as they can.
So do your squats.
Yes.
So that brings us to, what role do flexibility, balance, and strength and training play in your fitness program? Like, how important is that?
So it's the whole package that you really have to look at, because you want to be strong so that you can maintain your quality of life. things like being able to cook, cut vegetables, being able to play with your grandkids, being able to pull the door open, carry the milk in from the garage. Like, you want your strength to be able to do that, and also your muscle helps support your bones. You also want to work on your balance, and your balance is really your base, and that helps you to counteract falls, but also understanding, like, this is Chicago in the winter, there's ice, and so how are you catching yourself when you do slip? And a lot of times that's practicing that balance, that single leg stability piece. And then with flexibility, you're trying to keep your bottle supple and keep it flowing and keep the blood moving and increase that range of motion. So again, you can reach behind your head, because for a lot of people, the range will stop and they can't quite do it in their shoulder anymore. But I want to add one thing into this, and I would add in mobility. And the mobility piece is really being able to get up off the ground and to use your full range of motion and joints to counteract stiffness and things like that. So can you kind of get everywhere that you want to be comfortably?
And I know you use that with younger people too, because I know my daughter said, can you get from a seated position on the ground up without using your hands?
Without using your hands. And it's hard to do. It's very hard to do. But a lot of it's hard because we don't practice it in our everyday. The same as hanging upside down. A lot of people get unsure about it, and it's mostly because we don't do it that much. But there's a lot of interesting studies talking about the different things. So the example I would give would be grip strength. They did this study, and they said if you could dead hang from a bar, you would get an A. But you had to hang for 3 minutes, which most of us would not be able to do. But they
That's
said
a long time.
It's a long time. I would even say 20 seconds is a long time. But for 3 minutes, you would get an A. And they said if you could do that, you would increase your longevity by like 60%. It's a pretty phenomenal idea of how that grip strength sort of replicates strength throughout the whole body.
So if you're meeting a younger person, let's say somebody in their 20s or 30s, obviously you assess their fitness to see where you need to focus on helping them. But if, let's say, they were in pretty decent shape, would you still ask them or suggest that they incorporate some of these things?
Absolutely. I always look to increase the movement, and I always try to focus on the positive. Like, let's drink more water, let's eat more veggies, let's create this sort of lifestyle around what you already do. The same way as you would keep your home clean, you have to kind of keep your body clean and take care of those things. And it's not to say that you can't eat out and enjoy your life and do different things, but that you want sort of the day-to-day to be really positive. And that's again where the rituals come in, because I find with young people, there's often stress about a job or stress with young children. And so then I'll go back into trying to find ways to get the most out of their everyday. And we'll talk about sort of that mental health piece. So for example, I'll say, why don't you light a candle, your favorite scent, while you get ready in the morning, that you're in your bathroom, you're doing your makeup, you're doing your hair, that you have just 5 minutes with that candle. And the idea behind the candle and the scent is really then we talk about breathing and meditation and intention for the day, and just taking a moment to get a nice full breath and to relax and kind of enjoy sort of maybe some of the mundane parts of our day sometimes, but really making that into a ritual that you can look forward to, so that every day is great versus letting some of the normal stresses of life kind of come in too much.
I love that. That's such a simple way to incorporate, the mindfulness piece.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I'm also certified in meditation, but I think a lot of people think meditation is like sitting down for an hour and calming, and it feels too overwhelming because there's so much to do all the time. And I really believe that meditation can be just 2 breaths by yourself and kind of recentering yourself a little bit. I talk with a lot of clients of all ages really about having a good sleep routine, because if you're not sleeping, your body is not recovering well, and how you can then, put away your technology an hour before bed, how you can create those rituals in the evening of things you enjoy, maybe a cup of tea, maybe some more breathing, maybe reading a book, and making time again to really enjoy your day and end your day on a really positive note, so that you're not again kind of, oh, here's my to-do list for tomorrow.
Right, and I think we've talked about, we read a book called Eat, Sleep, Drink, Eat, Sleep,
Breathe.
Move, breathe. Eat, sleep, move. And one of the things they talk about with the sleep piece is sleep deprivation. And it was like, if you don't sleep correctly for one night or something, it was this ridiculous statistic about how it magnified.
Yes.
Not sleeping for one night was like not getting like 3 or 4 days worth of sleep. It was just like these ridiculous statistics that you were like, whoa, like you don't realize how it magnifies things.
And if you don't get the proper rest, you don't make the correct food choices, because now you're trying to soothe yourself, so it can spiral into that. You're too tired maybe to do your workout. And so it affects everything.
It affects everything. And part of it is that circadian rhythm that you want to be in a good cycle with your body, and how that circadian rhythm really turns on and off your hormones. So like your melatonin at night to help you sleep, and then it turns on different hormones to help you wake. And that's why you really want to be sure you're getting that sleep, so that all of your hormones are activating at the correct times for your body.
Yeah. Fascinating. So, all right, so as far as motivating seniors to stay active and engaged in their fitness routine, it sounds like from what you're saying and the name of your company, The Ritual Fit, it's all about rituals, right?
Yes. Taking what you're already doing and building on it, and really creating a lifestyle that you love and you're happy to do. A lot of seniors, especially those that maybe didn't come from a background of fitness and working out, or sometimes they feel like, well, I can't play pickleball anymore, or I can't kind of do the stairs anymore. And so they feel sort of upset that they can't do what they want to do. So we'll come in and say, well, what can you do? And we'll build games around it. Like you probably remember like the Bozo show and things like that. Get a bucket and throw balls into the bucket, and then you get up, you go get them, you bring them back. These are great games you can play with your grandchildren, and you can be engaged, you can be involved, you can find ways to meet that movement into your lifestyle.
That's so creative and simple and fun. I can't
Make it
believe
fun.
that you wouldn't, start laughing, like. And that will just uplift your mood, and you would look forward to doing that again in a day or two.
Yes.
I love that.
So make it part of your life.
Yeah.
It's just creating a process, creating a ritual, creating a better life.
Yes.
I'm so glad we had you on today.
I know.
Thank you so much.
And I know from personal experience, well, my daughter, she has gone through having babies and not maybe feeling, 100%, when she's trying to start.
Postpartum and all those things.
And you have been so kind to her. She has told me, you are very compassionate. You never make her feel bad. You're always helping her. You're always giving her new suggestions. So if you can do that with someone in their 30s, I can only imagine how wonderful you are for seniors.
Thank you.
So, yes. So thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Absolutely.
We will have all your contact information in our show notes. So
will.
our listeners can reach out to you should they have any questions or want to hire you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us today. Tune in next Wednesday for a new episode of Help Nobody Told Me.